G'day, how's it going? This is Comics with your man Failbait asking the burning question, should you buy Marvel Comics' new event, Empyre? It's written by Al Ewing with plots from him and Dan Slott, with art from Valerius Giddy and Marta Garcia, focusing on Avengers, the Fantastic Four, and more. Now, there are 4 pillars upon which this Empyre is built: the main event, the Avengers tie-ins, the Fantastic Four tie-ins, and the X-Men tie-ins. That's a lot, so is it worth it? The answer is tricky because yes, some of the comics are worth it, but as you can see in the video, some of it isn't. I would recommend buying. If you want to get to the good stuff, the Empyre main story, the Empyre X-Men tie-ins, and maybe the Captain America tie-ins. What I'm going to do in this video though is decide if it's all necessary. So let's have a look at issue 1. Issue 1 is a little bit difficult for people to appreciate, as it seems to happen after or between current Fantastic Four stories. It also requires a bit more information about how Hulkling came to power. In their attempt to get to the interesting parts quicker, readers miss the chance at fully grasping the stakes of the situation. And while this isn't too much of an issue because you can read the Zero issues and all the lead-in issues, again, that's a little bit, excessive, because it doesn't really explain in the main event what the scope of the situation is, how dangerous is it, how bad is it, what's the hook beyond just evil aliens attacking Earth, fighting against good heroes. We do get a brief look into it, at what that is at the end of the comic, with the return of the villainous Kotati. Though again, it doesn't quite hit home since most of the action was rushed into. Thankfully, issue 2 gives us a little bit more information. In fact, it gives us a lot more information. It starts with the Avengers trapped and gives our villainous Kotati Koi a chance to explain his motivations. It's kind of cool, playing into the history of the Avengers and stories like the Kree-Skrull War. The heroes escape, of course, and it ends his, big monologue. It's very standard superhero tropes, and it's not the most interesting part of the issue, but maybe it'll have rewards later on in the comic. Who knows? If you like Captain Marvel like I do, however, there are some really cool scenes in this issue with her. So the second half of issue 2 is a lot stronger than the first half. But overall, the first 2 issues of this event, in my opinion, are the weaker parts, and once we get to issue 3, that's when things start to really pick up pace and get good. And that's because, all the explanations, all the monologues are done with, we can get to the thick of the story. And what I feel that thick of the story is fantasy, science fiction politics, big intergalactic family drama, all those sorts of things that really start to make it feel a little more unique to other events. And it even introduces another villain, one who has that little bit of a mysterious allure to keep us hooked. And thankfully, the action comes down to Earth, so we sort of start to see now just how dangerous things are and what the scope of the villainy is. And it's a lot easier to get invested in the events that are unfolding because of that. And issue 4 continues the trend, it doesn't disappoint. Although for more veteran readers, the little twist here in issue 4 may feel like a retread of past events with Skrulls, I, however, think it's a pretty good payoff, a pretty good reward from the first 2 issues, and again, you read through the explanations and the motivations, and then you get to the twist in issue 4, and you're like, okay, I can see what they were kind of doing there. So that's good. However, for fans of the Avengers and the Fantastic Four, at this point you start to realize they aren't really the main characters in the event. They're just sort of there as passengers, being part of the story. The characters who are really at the heart of the story, both emotionally and narratively, Hulkling and Wiccan, the couple who are really trying to tie all the threads together. And, this huge cast, characters do get some good splash pages or scenes to show off, but it feels like so much of the actual fighting is in the tie-in comics. And while I wouldn't recommend all of the tie-ins, they all have some good aspects, of course, there are some that I would probably recommend over others. And they are the X-Men tie-ins, which I think are my favorite of the lot. It really takes those high stakes of the comic and personalizes it, which is the best part of the events, I feel. And it sort of gives us a bit of humor and a bit of amusement and life injected into the tie-ins. It's also worth noting that the X-Men aren't really a major part of the Empyre main series. So if you are a fan of the X-Men and you want to see how they're sort of reacting to events here, then, the tie-ins are really good for that. Similarly, the Captain America tie-in, sort of gives us some cool action scenes, and it really helps sell the danger and scope of the story. Being a lot more action-driven, it helps with that. But if you aren't really a fan of Captain America, then I probably wouldn't recommend it. Same with X-Men. If you aren't a fan of the X-Men, you can probably skip it. So from a narrative perspective, while issue 1 and 2 of the main event are a little bit slow compared to the rest of the comic, it at least looks really, really promising for the future. especially because there is one thing that is consistent throughout the entire series, and that's the amazing artwork. Valerio Skitty and his art team do an amazing job of bringing to life what could otherwise just be a very talkative and historical and political event. The layouts are very creative and help fit the theme and atmosphere of the Kotati's nature. His heroes and actions are very vibrant and energetic, filled with a lot of cinematic shots that are clear to follow with good, strong lines and backgrounds. And it's whether it's the vast expanses of the space and sci-fi setting or the desert-washed action in Wakanda, Valerio Skitty and his art team were able to jump between these different styles and locations with aplomb, helping bring a really creative and consistent thread between the multiple narratives and characters. So, in summary, Marvel's Empyre roots itself in Marvel's history, but does it branch out to make a legacy of its own? After sowing the seeds and a slow start, the story is now bearing fruit and is definitely worth buying. So should you buy Marvel's Empyre? The answer is yes, but not all of them. Thanks for watching Comics with your mate Failbait. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and you can find more of my content in the comments below. Thanks for watching. This has been Comics with your mate Failbait.